There are a number of reasons why U.S. soy consistently ranks at the top of the list in the global marketplace. There's the excellent nutritive quality of the plant, the overall economic value, and the robust logistical infrastructure for consistent transportation. But perhaps an important quality that U.S. soy has is the commitment to sustainability in the way that it's grown. Sustainable farming practices are foundational to the growth and production of U.S. soy. The production area for crops like soybeans in the United States has been stable for over 50 years, with forest land in the U.S. increasing, while cropland has actually decreased over that same amount of time. Now, you might be asking, how is that possible? Simple. U.S. soy farmers are committed to finding ways to do more with less. Let's start on the farm. There are a number of sustainable farming practices that are done in the field every day. No-till farming, grass filter strips, cover crops, and crop rotation. The U.S. has programs in place to help soy farmers engage in practices to manage water, preserve wildlife habitats, and help improve biodiversity. And modern tools like moisture sensors, smart irrigation, autonomous and GPS-enabled tractors, drones, and satellite imagery all help U.S. soy farmers produce a reliable harvest while reducing their use of natural resources. These measures create a big impact and lead to sustainable results such as reduced fuel use, fewer greenhouse gas emissions, less soil compaction, and less soil and water runoff. In fact, based on the environmental impact and benchmarks starting in 2000, U.S. soy has established yield and sustainability goals for the next 5 years. By 2025, U.S. soybean producers aim to reduce land use impact by 10%, reduce soil erosion an additional 25%, increase energy use efficiency by 10%, and reduce total greenhouse gas emissions by 10%. And this commitment doesn't stop on the farm. Sustainability is a focus from the beginning to the end of the soybean value chain. The United States created the U.S. Soy Sustainability Assurance Protocol, SSAP, which is a certified aggregate approach audited by third parties that verifies sustainable soybean production at a national scale. SSAP outlines and measures 4 directives related to sustainability: biodiversity, sustainable production practices, public and labor health, and continuous improvement of practices. And last year, U.S. soybean farmers began a project to map strategic objectives directly tied to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals that aim to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. And U.S. soybean farmers are developing a roadmap to help move the needle in a measurable way. There is no doubting U.S. soy's commitment to sustainability, for now and for the future. Need more proof? The United States Soybean Export Council recently engaged Blanc Consultants to help answer the question, what is the environmental footprint of U.S. soy compared to other soy sourcing countries? Blanc compared 1 kilogram of soybeans, 1 kilogram of soybean meal crushed at market, and 1 kilogram crushed in the country of origin using a life cycle assessment. Looking at things like cultivation, land use change, transportation, and processing, the impact of soy on the carbon footprint of poultry production was lower with U.S. soybean meal. The facts are in, and they are indisputable. Through sustainable farming and constant innovation, U.S. soy contributes to a healthier planet. When you dare to compare U.S. soy to soy grown in any other region of the world, you will see that U.S. soy provides the sustainability solutions that global consumers and investors are demanding, and adds no extra cost for its verified sustainability. Verified sustainable U.S. soy is the highest quality and best economic choice, offering excellent value every time. To learn more about U.S. soy's sustainability efforts, reach out to your U.S. soy representative today. There are a number of
Rising population means rising global demand for protein. Today, yield needs to be increased, for which modern farming methods are crucial. And equally critical is ensuring nutritious food for livestock. Significantly, Anmol Feeds for the last 19 years has played a vital role. Thanks to its total production capability of 4 lakh metric tons per year. Anmol Feeds has consistently improved farmers' lives by providing nutritious feed for poultry, aqua, cattle and shrimp. Now, to further increase yield and assure better health of livestock, Anmol Feeds presents Nurture, New Thinking for Progress. Nurture promises a better future through world-class products, balanced nutritious feed, and health-enhancing, easily digestible feed. What's more, Nurture provides farm-level assistance by spreading knowledge and awareness of modern practices, which results in better profitability. Nurture today has a presence in 20 states with a range of poultry, fish, cattle and shrimp feed products, and touches 50,000 farmers through 600 dealers and 4,500 retailers. So let's move towards a better future with Nurture. Let's embrace progress with better quality feed from Nurture. By empowering rural farmers, by promoting rural entrepreneurship, by increasing their profitability. The revolution is here. Together, let's join hands and move towards a new India.
आईबी ग्रुप की सोच हमेशा ये रही है कि कम से कम दाना खिला के ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा वजन कैसे लाया जाए। इसी के लिए वह भारत में आने वाली 10 साल 20 साल की ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी जो यूरोप यूएसए में उपयोग करता है, इसी के तहत आईबी ग्रुप ने एक्सक्लूडर फ्लोटिंग फिश फीड इंडिया में लॉन्च किया और आज इंडिया का नंबर 1 मार्केट शेयर आईबी ग्रुप के पास है।
Sold under the Abyss brand, the feed is produced using an extrusion feed manufacturing technique imported from the United States. The feed is processed using high-quality raw materials to ensure efficient delivery of nutrients for the maximum growth of fish. The floating fish feed contains a balanced quality of protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, and balanced amino acids.
आज फ्लोटिंग फ़िश का यूज़ होने से 100% फीड को कंज्यूम करता है फ़िश। दूसरी बात, इसके बॉटम हाइजीनिक रहते हैं। पहले जो फीड वेस्टेज जाता था वो बॉटम में जाके कई तरीके का डिजीज़ फ़िश में आते थे, आज वो डिजीज़ नहीं आते हैं।
For our shrimp business, the feed is pelleted is nutritionally rich and is scientifically proven to yield improved feed conversion ratio or FCR, which essentially means faster shrimp growth. It also facilitates easier maintenance of water quality, thereby reducing the chances of any disease outbreak. The feed is produced in a state-of-the-art plant and is specially formulated for Indian shrimp. In fact, our feed formulation method is internationally acclaimed and is in compliance with international quality standards.
In Abyss shrimp feed स्टार्ट हुआ गुजरात में, मतलब सबसे पहले इसी फार्म से स्टार्ट हुआ था और यहाँ से सबसे अच्छा प्रोडक्शन निकला, मतलब ग्रोथ भी बहुत अच्छा रहा था, FCR भी 1.1 रहा था।
నాకు శక్తి గణేష్, మాది వెస్ట్ గోదావరి శ్రీశైలం గ్రామం. గత 4 సంవత్సరాలుగా నేను ఈ కల్చర్ చేస్తున్నాను, కానీ అన్ని మేతలు వాడాను. ఈ ఐబీ కంపెనీ మేత నాకు చాలా మంచి రిజల్ట్ ఇచ్చింది.
IB Group has not only helped in keeping costs low, but also in maintaining the quality of its products.
BioVet SA Laboratories was founded in 1984, but the philosophy of the company is based on detecting the problems that currently affect farms in order to find effective solutions in the laboratory. BioVet has its industrial and institutional headquarters in Constantine and its commercial headquarters in the Chamber of Commerce of Tarragona. BioVet SA, creating health, improving efficiency. BioVet is a research-based company composed of a multidisciplinary team. Product development, feed formulation service, mycotoxin analysis service, training and consulting, microbiologic analysis, mycotoxin calculator. BioVet has obtained the FAMI QS certificate from an independent company that audits compliance with European standards. The manufacture of eco-friendly products, the A number for a European manufacturer, and the FDA certificate in the United States. Compliance with the Data Protection Act. BioVet SA has a great product range aimed at poultry, swine, ruminants, and aquaculture. Mycotoxin binders, preservatives, nutritionals, pro-nutrients, digestives, antioxidants and fat enhancers, fishing product line,
Shiva, can you unmute, please? I now have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Gulrez Alam, Director, IB Group, to address the gathering, please. Mr. Alam.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this knowledge session to the farmers organized by Mr. Mukherjee. It's my pleasure to be here on the panel and address all my dear aquaculture farmers and the associates and service providers who are present today. ABIS IB Group has been instrumental in playing the key and vital role in uplifting the aquaculture farmers, the fish farmers, and the shrimp farmers in the country. And I'm very proud to say that today we have this remarkable journey wherein now we can proudly say that India is one of the largest producers of shrimp and the largest exporters of shrimp. And also with that, we are one of the finest and most productive nation for inland aquaculture. And there are many roads ahead to even progress with the support from our honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, who is making putting immense focus on aquaculture and fish farmers and fisheries in the country, will definitely prove to be very fruitful for us. And my all dear farmers, हमने आप लोगों के लिए हमेशा से यही फोकस रखा है कि किसी तरह से आपको प्रॉफिटेबल बनाना है और इस न्यूट्रिशियस फीड देनी है जिसके चलते आपका प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट कम से कम हो और आपको बेटर से बेटर रियलाइजेशन मिले आपके फिश कल्चर का या श्रिम्प कल्चर का। और मुझे खुशी हो रही है बोलते हुए कि आज हमारी फीड के जो रिजल्ट्स हैं, चाहे वो श्रिम्प फीड हो, इंडिया में सबसे ज्यादा बेटर है और हमारे फार्मर्स बहुत खुश हैं कि जो प्रोडक्टिविटी और कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन हमारी फीड को यूज करके मिलता है। I believe that is one of the best testimonials given by our farmers. और फिश फार्म्स के अंदर भी हमारे पास आप लोग जैसे फार्मर से इनपुट हम लेते रहते हैं डायरेक्टली फील्ड से, हमारी टीम पूरी कनेक्टेड रहती है कि जिस तरह से वी आर एंड द एंटायर फ्रेटर्निटी ऑफ फिशरीज इज ट्राइंग टू प्रमोट द न्यू varieties also of fish culture which are going to give better realization to the farmers like sea bass or merrill or you have your snakehead or आपकी trout fish which are very premium fishes। और उसके लिए भी हम लोगों ने कोशिश करी है अपने R&D के साथ में और फॉरेन कंसल्टेंट्स के साथ में बैठकर अपने खुद इन हाउस R&D टीम के साथ टू फाइंड एंड टू गिव यू द बेस्ट क्वालिटी फीड जो कि आगे हमें लगता है कि आगे चलने के रास्ते में जो एक्वाकल्चर और फिशरीज में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण कड़ी निभाएगी। बिकॉज हमारे पास जो नॉर्मल IMC कल्चर होता आ रहा है और जो हमारा पंगेशियस का कल्चर था एक दौर में आगे थम गया, क्योंकि अभी कोरोना की वजह से भी हमने देखा कि काफी जो रेस्टोरेंट्स हैं और जो ईटरीज हैं और बुफेज हैं और फंक्शन और कन्वेंशंस हैं वो बंद हो गई। उस वजह से बहुत स्ट्रेस आया हमारे फार्मरों पे, क्योंकि मार्केट में डिमांड बहुत कम थी और उसके चलते हमारे रेट्स बहुत कम थे, तो फार्मर्स काफी चिंतित रहे। However, the trend for the premium fishes is picking up, and we are working with a lot of breeding people. We are working with a lot of hatcheries and farmers to handhold together to ensure that the new varieties what we are working on, which has been firmly committed from our team and ourselves, that we will help you give that premium fish culture and hold those farmers. If anybody on your farmers आपके साथ जो इतने मंच पे जुड़े हुए हैं आज, अगर उनको कोई क्वेरी हो, कोई कुछ चीज की मालूमात करनी हो, तो बिल्कुल हमारे वेबसाइट के ऊपर जाके क्वेरी कर सकते हैं या फिर हमारे सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स पे एबिस फिश फीड और श्रिम्प फीड पे कांटेक्ट करने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं। और हमारी फील्ड टीम भी अवेलेबल है, हमारे डीलर्स भी हैं। वी आर ऑलवेज ओपन फॉर द फार्मर्स टू लिसन टू देम कि वो क्या चाहते हैं, उनकी तकलीफें क्या हैं और किस तरह से आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। हमारी उम्मीद है कि हमारे इंडिया के जितने भी पीसी कल्चर फार्मर्स हैं, फिश कल्चर फार्मर्स हैं, वो आगे बढ़ते रहें और इसी तरह कामयाब होते रहें और उनकी हम इसी तरह से सपोर्ट करते रहें। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू मिस्टर मुखर्जी।
Thank you, Mr. Alam. Thank you for your time and thank you for those words. But as we move on with the session, I have the pleasure of introducing the moderator for today, Dr. Suresh Rajendran, Project Coordinator, World Fish Assam. Dr. Suresh is an aquaculture expert with 32 years of academic, research, extension, administration, and consultancy experience. He has obtained BFSC, MFSC, PhD in aquaculture, and MBA degrees. His fields of specialization include aquaculture economics, aquaculture extension, and fish marketing. He served as professor and was involved in teaching, development, and transfer of aquaculture technologies, fish marketing studies, and in development of e-learning programs in fisheries science. Dr. Suresh was also involved in the transfer of technology for small-scale aquaculture development through training programs, awareness programs, guest lectures, farmers' meets, and technical advisory support. He served as post-harvesting and marketing expert for Commission of European Communities, CEC, consultant for FAO, National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management under Ministry of Environment and Forests, Government of India, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, NAPFUNDS, and a senior consultant in National Fisheries Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture, and also as advisor for Agriculture Skill Council of India under Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. At present, Dr. Suresh is project coordinator with World Fish and the World Bank funded APART project in Assam. Over to Dr. Suresh to take the session forward, please. Thank you. Dr. Suresh, could I invite you to the floor, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. It is a pleasure to participate in this AquaShow 2021, which is a virtual knowledge conclave organized by Aquavet Consulting with the theme of aquaculture, the road ahead. It's a very pertinent topic, and we have today the farmers outreach session, and the most important topic for this morning is the species diversification, new path towards Indian aquaculture production. So this is really a very important topic for today, and which plays a major role for aquaculture development needs of the country. So we are number 2 producer, fish producer in the world. At the same time, we also have around 80% of the fish production coming from freshwater, mostly Indian major carps. So to the extent that India is called or referred to as a carp country. So compared to other countries like China, where they have around 40 species for aquaculture, as you know that Indonesia has more than 25 species for aquaculture. India has less than 16 species, mostly dominated by these carps. And we have been taking up so many different species for aquaculture, but in the freshwater, in the brackish water, as well as for mariculture. And most of them have not really come to the commercial scale. There are a lot of issues that we are facing. For example, there is a lot of work has been done for sea bass culture and for scampi farming, and at the same time for marl culture. So similarly, in the case of coastal aquaculture in the shrimp farming, we had Penaeus monodon, as well as now it is dominated by Benami. There is also scope for other species like Penaeus indicus, Penaeus semisulcatus, where large scale production has not come. And in the case of mariculture also, a lot of experiments have been conducted, commercial production trials have been conducted with the help of CMFRI in promoting cobia, silver pampano, groupers, milkfish, as well as with the mullets by Central Institute of Brackish Water Aquaculture. But all this diversification of species in the Indian context are very much limited, and somehow it is not picking up to the level that we have expected. So this is very, very important topic that we need to take stock of what is happening in the Indian aquaculture, and also the need for diversifying into many species. Luckily, as the earlier speakers have pointed out, we have got the success of this Pangasius coming into the country. And it was mostly catering to the needs of the restaurant section and for social needs. And again, with the case of tilapia, genetically improved tilapia or the improved strains of tilapia, which even after 10 years, it is making slow inroads into the aquaculture scenario of India. But for a country like ours, there is a lot of potential for tilapia also. And most importantly, this all depends on the consumer preference. What is established over 40, 50 years in India as a carp producing country, carp has heavily dominated the consumer needs of the society. And then to replace it with another species, it's a very, very difficult, the domestic marketing scenario that we need to promote in the long run. It is not only the production of these different diversified species, and efficiently catering to the needs of the consumers is again a major challenge that we have. Many of them are not reaching the consumers for some reason or the other, that also need to be addressed. And there are also regional requirements. For example, in the Northeast and others, there is a lot of, particularly in West Bengal and other Northeastern states, there is demand for more of small fishes that now like Mola, Puti, Chela, Dela, and Doricona, Tengra, all these species from the nutritional point of view is promoted. You know that Goldfish is also promoting this small indigenous fish culture. Apart from that, there is enough scope for Magur, Singi, Pabda, and even Anabas, wherever there is a lot of consumer preference for this species. But we have a big basket of species that are available both for freshwater aquaculture development and for brackish water aquaculture development. How best it should be taken to the production level and at the marketing level is a huge challenge, and I'm sure this workshop or this online virtual webinar that is going to happen on species diversification will bring out a lot of newer ideas in this direction. So for this session, we have three eminent speakers. Mr. Umakant, who is the technical representative of aquaculture for South Asia in working for USEC. And we have Mr. Amalesh Chatterjee, who is an aquaculture entrepreneur, fish hatchery owner, and a progressive fish farmer from West Bengal. And we also have Dr. Matiur Rahman, professor from Department of Fisheries Biology and Genetics, Bangladesh Agriculture University. So it's my pleasure to be moderator for this session, and we may request the speakers to speak on the topics that have been planned for this session. So let me introduce the first speaker of today, Mr. Umakant. So Mr. Umakant holds a science degree at bachelor's level with a specialization in fisheries, as well as master's degree in ecology. At USEC, Umakant focuses on soybean product promotion in aquafeeds, aquafeed mill capacity utilization, improvement in feed technologies, and managing client networks, guiding and developing aqua new businesses, and providing training for the industry. His professional experience of 18 years in aquaculture industry covers all segments of the industry. As a consultant for USEC's AAC Regional Aquaculture Program, he has been instrumental in designing various innovative programs and activities that help the progress of Indian aquaculture industry. Umakant is also instrumental in demonstrating the IPRS technology for the first time in India, through which minimum 8 to 10 times more production can be achieved in a sustainable and economical manner. So it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Umakant to deliver his speech.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh, for a great introduction about myself. Good afternoon to all the audiences, and congratulations to the organizers for designing such a great program, which is a need of our for the industry today. I hope you can see my slides, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So today I would like to discuss with all our audience who are attending for this virtual AquaShow 2021 program regarding species diversification, need for species diversification in terms of Indian context. So if you look into the transition that happened in the Indian aquaculture industry the past 1 decade, especially into fish farming segment, if you look at, we have certain traditional farming pockets like Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Odisha, and these are the major production pockets we have in India. But recently, in the past within 1 decade, a lot of new culture zones emerged near to the culture pockets, consumer pockets, where the consumption is happening more. and even new business ventures began, like farming. New technologies are being introduced into India, like bioflak and RAS, and all these systems are being adapted by farmers pan India. Along with this, we have the traditional pocket farmers began to experience the pressure of price volatility because of new culture regions emerging in other regions. So this keep on putting pressure on traditional production pockets. And as our Dr. Suresh mentioned, like so 80% of our farmers are depending on carp rearing, and 80% of our production is carp. So the pressure got increased on the traditional production pockets, and the price problems arrived. Along with that, increasing raw material costs increased the production cost, and profits came down to the farmer communities in these production pockets, traditional production pockets. So COVID-19 situation further intensified this pressure on traditional fish farming regions. So along with these positive and negative mixed reflections, we also have some new developments in our farming Indian aquaculture industry. So e-commerce revolution touched our fisheries activities. Young entrepreneurs began to venture into aqua production and marketing aspects. And people began to experiment on new ways of marketing fishes. New type of products are being introduced into the market, fresh markets and online sales began. As I discussed, new culture systems also being introduced into Indian aquaculture industry, like bioflak farming and RAS farming, and different types of farming methodologies being introduced into Indian aquaculture industry. So still, we, like Dr. Suresh mentioned, we have a lot of missing links in our industry that are hindering our industry growth to take a proper pace in terms of development. The first and foremost thing is narrow range of culture species. So we have very less number of species that we are culturing when you compare with China or our neighboring country, Bangladesh. Our range of culture species is very less. And we don't have much of a high value species that we can culture in our farming operation. And we also have the problem of commercially established hatcheries for these high value fish species production. And it's a genuine problem we have been facing. The consumption improvement programs are not properly in place. We need to concentrate on these consumption improvement programs. And we need to have marketing strategies, how to market our product into the consumer. This is one of the biggest issue. And we also need to concentrate on value addition, logistics, and cold chain management. These are all the missing links that we need to establish a connection so that the industry can pick up quickly and move in a proper direction. And we also have the problem of skilled manpower availability. So all these new technologies, new species, if you don't have skilled manpower, there is no point of we increasing their efficient utilization. And we need to work together to improve the connectivity between industry and the institutions so that the technologies, what the institutions or the programs, what the institutions have can be brought into the industry so that that can be better synchronized in the development process. So species diversification is today's topic. And so why we need species diversification? Diversification of species buffers the volatility and price shocks. So the farmer can diversify his investment, and he can invest in multiple species so that he can avoid the price volatility issues. And he can also diversify the market channels, like Dr. Suresh mentioned, the specific market required specific species. So based on the market preference, you can do the production planning, and accordingly, you can diversify your investments. And you can reduce over dependence on fewer species, like if you depend 80% on cod species, and then you end up losing a lot of profitability out of that because of overproduction of a specific species. And you can also explore the export opportunities that we have in the international market available. So we have vast resources which you can utilize, like there are certain pockets, brackish water regions in our country where the culture happens, shrimp farming happens in only one cycle, and the remaining cycle, these resources are not being utilized properly. So in those resources, in those regions, we can develop brackish water fish farming if you have enough species and knowledge with your hand in your hand. So what you need to diversify, if you want to diversify your species, what are the prerequisites that you need? First of all, you need the government permission, need interventions by institutions and organizations. And you need to have the technology and skilled manpower to implement that species diversification, certain species, whatever you select. And you need to have the hatchery and pre-growth infrastructure, growth infrastructure, and then SOPs to do all these things. You need to have systematic operating procedures to do all these things. And you also need to have nutrition knowledge, feed building infrastructure and knowledge. And you also need to have the capacity infrastructure to manage the logistics and cold chain management related issues. And you also need to study the market acceptance and market demand assessment. This is the most important thing, because if you don't have these assessments in your hand, you end up either overproduction or the market might not accept the species what you are trying to sell in that specific market. You need to have market assessment in your hand, and whether this market accepts the species or not. You need to have a prior understanding and knowledge before you get into any species, taking up any species into your culture operations. So USEC identified the need for species diversification way back in 2012 and 13. We started educating industry, key stakeholders about the need for species diversification. We started with tilapia. In 2013 and 14, we started bringing people to the facilities where they can learn about these culture technologies and different culture methodologies of these specific species. And then we organized a big event called Blue Paper Forum, where nearly 250 key stakeholders from across India gathered and discussed about what next to be done to make our industry better. And we continued this knowledge sharing programs from that time onwards. In 2016, we took a couple of industry stakeholders from India to Vietnam to introduce snakehead hatchery and farming, learning snakehead farming technologies. After the event, two operators who came for the tour took the initiative to initiate the hatchery operations for snakehead. And in 2017, we organized a visit to China again to teach about snakehead and some marine fish species. And nearly 2 state governments government institutions joined for the program, and nearly 5 key stakeholders from 5 states joined for this program. And in 2019, again, we organized a learning mission to Vietnam, where the people learned about both freshwater and brackish water marine species hatchery and farming technologies. Out of this trip, nearly 3 participants entered into hatchery operations after coming back from that learning mission. So along with species diversification, USEC introduced system diversification into India. And during 2018, we introduced in-pond raceway system, which is an apt technology if you want to get into a species diversification, if you want to take up a new species culture into your culture operations. This is very suitable technology. So how this IPRS can help species diversification? So you have all the culture you are going to do out of your 100% farming area, it's only 2.5 to 3% culture area you are going to manage. So it's very easy to stock, sample, and harvest if you do farming in IPRS system. And you have the flexibility to stock multiple species and sizes, and easy to feed and monitor and manage. And for most of these species which you are going to adopt in species diversifications like marrel or sea bass, all these species, they require frequent grading and monitoring size. You need to separate the sizes and you need to grow them onto some stage where you can stock them into your farming operation. You need to wean them to feed, formulated feed, so that you don't depend on live feeds. So for all these processes, IPRS is a very good supportive system which can support all these operations. So you can concentrate all your work in just 660 cubic meter area. So you don't need to spend a lot of manpower, time, and energy. So it's very easy to operate. And because of various technology involvements in IPRS system, the chances of disease occurrences are very low. And the effluents that you are going to get out of the system are completely removed and can be utilized for agriculture operations. So there are no organic effluents that are being discharged from your aquaculture system, which is a great facility out of this system, which makes our aquaculture operation more sustainable. So even the production you can enhance from 3 to 6 times. So along with species diversification, USEC introduced this system diversification. So these two things together complement each other, and then which will help the industry to utilize these resources. So what is the take-home message? If you want to, species diversification is an inevitable thing that we need to adapt now. There is no way back. So you need to design a strategic planning before getting into species diversification. Knowledge, skill set, and SOPs to be acquainted. Market demand and market acceptance assessment should be there. Hatchery, farming, logistics, and cold chain infrastructure development should be there. Export market opportunity assessment should be there, and sustainable farming, feed management practices are to be implemented into the system. If you have all these things in your hand, if you adapt all these strategic steps, then our sustainable species diversification will progress properly, and it will take us to a sustainable future aquaculture operations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Umakant, with your rich experience in the aquaculture sector in India and the Southeast Asian nations. You have really brought out the need for species diversification in the Indian context. Most importantly, you have taken us through the transition in the Indian aquaculture scenario, mostly with regard to in the context of increasing cost of production in most of the aquaculture species, reducing profits, as well as with the COVID-19 pressure that has come. And you have also highlighted the missing links, particularly the need for the country in terms of the less number of high-value species for aquaculture. Whether it is freshwater aquaculture or brackish water aquaculture, though we have a lot of new systems coming into play, as you rightly pointed out, we don't have a high-value species that can go into the high-value systems. So with the capital-intensive systems that are coming in, we are yet to enter into some high-value species production, particularly the hatchery technology and the farming technology. So this is a very important missing link that you have pointed out. And why the species diversity is necessary and what is to be done. You have highlighted with regard to the diversify with regard to the market needs. And there is one more potential. We have been thinking that species diversity can result in only domestic market needs. But there is huge potential which other Southeast Asian nations are getting into species diversification by producing species that are required for other markets, not only for the Indian context. So the present scenario, having taken cards to the consumers for 40 years, now the feeling is that it is very difficult for in the Indian context to drive or slowly reduce even up to 2040, you cannot bring down the consumption of carp farming in the entire country, because it needs at least one generation to pass through to accept a new species. The current generation and the past generation very well is acquainted to the consumption of carps and the traditional fishes that are available in the market. But always the export market gives preference for other commodities. In that context, I think tilapia, which has got a huge consumption in the US market, is one species that can cater to the need. But most importantly, we are not able to compete in terms of the cost of production. That is one area where we need to work out. All the hatchery, production, feed industry has to work together to find out a solution for it. And export market is always available for the species that are demanded in other countries. And what to be done? We need a hatchery technology, as well as the technologies and the market information, particularly with regard to export market. So with this, you have given an overall wrap up of the situation. Thank you so much for bringing in your new ideas into this session. Thank you. I think we can go to the next session. Probably if there are any more questions, I think we can take it up. Mr. Mukherjee, what is the plan that you want to take some questions?
Questions would be at the end of the session, sir.
Okay.
There is a dedicated Q&A time slot.
Okay.
So at the end of the thing, we do all questions.
Okay. Fine. Then that should be fine. Okay. Then we have our next speaker, Mr. Amlesh Chatterjee, who is a fish hatchery owner and a progressive fish farmer from Kolkata. So Mr. Amlesh has a diploma in engineering. He is a renowned tilapia hatchery owner and an aquaculture entrepreneur. He received many awards. He is a motivator and encourages many young entrepreneurs to start aquaculture. So Mr. Amlesh Chatterjee, now it's time for you to present your topic. Please.
नमस्कार। आज का कार्यक्रम में जितना भी आया है सबको मेरा तरफ से प्रणाम। जितना भी साइंटिस्ट लोग हैं सबके लिए मेरा प्रणाम, और किसान भाई जितना आया है सबके लिए हमारा प्रणाम। मैं अमलेश चटर्जी वेस्ट बंगाल हुगली से हूँ। मैं आज 30 साल मछली पालता हूँ। मैं दोनों तरफ का मछली पालता हूँ, खारा पानी का भी, मीठा पानी का भी। और मछली पालने के साथ साथ मछली को सीड, बीज जिसको बोलते हैं, जीरा, एक एक जगह में एक एक नाम पे बोलते हैं, स्पॉन, फ्लाई, फिंगरलिंग, सभी हम लोग करते हैं। मेरा मेन प्रोडक्शन है सीड का, रोहू का, तिलापिया का, कतला का। लेकिन अभी छोटा मछली भी आ रहा है, उसको भी हम लोग कर रहे हैं, जैसे मिस्टर गुलियो, जिसको हम लोग टेंगड़ा बोलते हैं, पुटिया सराना जिसको हम पुटिया बोलते हैं, उसको भी हम लोग करना शुरू किया है। हम पंगास नहीं करते, लेकिन हमारा दोस्त वगैरह हमारे आसपास में पंगास होता है, सिल्वर कार्प होता है हमारा पास में, बिगेड हम लोग नहीं करते, ग्रास कार्प करते हैं, कालबोस करते। लेकिन करते तो हम लोग बहुत कुछ है, लेकिन समस्या क्या है, सारे मछली को एक्सेप्ट आपको जयंती रोहू और अमूर कार्प छोड़ के बाकी मछली को ब्रूड स्टॉक का लिए कोई सोर्स नहीं है जहाँ से हम लोग अच्छा वाला नौर और मादा ले सकते हैं। हम लोग को बाकी मछली के लिए नदी के ऊपर, नहीं तो हम लोग अपना जो पुखरी में जो पालता है उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है। लेकिन ये सब स्पीसीज़ को, मैं पहले मीठा पानी का ही बोल रहा हूँ, ये सब मछली को अलग अलग ब्रूड स्टॉक होना चाहिए, ब्रूड सीड बैंक होना चाहिए। सब सीड बैंक होने से नहीं होगा, उसको जेनेटिकली इम्प्रूवमेंट होना चाहिए। कोई भी स्पीसीज जेनेटिकली जब तक इम्प्रूवमेंट नया हो तो उसको खेती करने के फायदामंद नहीं होगा। जैसे हम लोग धान का मान लीजिए, कई सब्जी का मान लीजिए, पहले जो हम लोग बीज बुआई करते थे और अभी जो बीज हम लोग बुआई करते हैं, इसके कई अंतर है। इसमें प्रोडक्शन बढ़ता है, टाइम शॉर्ट टाइम लॉन्ग टाइम होता है। या मछली में भी सेम चीज़ होना बहुत ही ज़रूरी है। मेरा जो 30 साल का अनुभव है, जो मछली का सिलेक्टिव ब्रीडिंग और जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट, ये दोनों होना बहुत ज़रूरी है। हमारा देश में सिर्फ तीनों स्पीसीज का मीठा पानी का जो ये काम हुआ है, एक है जयंती रोहू और जीआई कातला, आमूर कार्ड, ये जो हमारा देसी स्पीसीज है ये 3 स्पीसीज हुआ है। और जो एग्जॉटिक स्पीसीज है तेलापिया, गिफ्ट तेलापिया जो हम लोग आरडीसीए ने बनाया, ये चारों मान लो, एक 3 हमारा अपना स्पीसीज और एक एग्जॉटिक स्पीसीज, ये चारों का ही अपग्रेडेशन हुआ है और हो रहा है। लेकिन बाकी जो मछली है उसको कुछ अपग्रेडेशन नहीं हो रहा है। तो उसमें क्या होगा, किसान भाई जो फार्मिंग करेंगे वो तो अच्छा वाला सीड नहीं मिलेगा। कहाँ से सीड अच्छा वाला मिलेगा? सीड नहीं मिली, सब सीड को अपग्रेडेशन होना बहुत ज़रूरी है। सिर्फ अपग्रेडेशन मछली के सीड का अपग्रेडेशन से नहीं होगा, उसको जो खेती करेंगे उसको लिए भी कुछ चीज़ है। जैसे सीड के लिए तो हो गया अपग्रेडेशन, अगर हो भी गया होगा तो फीड नहीं है। हर एक मछली के लिए उसको फीड का रिक्वायरमेंट अलग अलग होता है। किसी को हाई प्रोटीन ज़रूरत होता है, किसी का लो प्रोटीन ज़रूरत होता है। ये सब स्पीसीज टू स्पीसीज वेरी करता है। जैसे हम लोग खेती में जब खाद डालते हैं, एक एक सब्जी के लिए एक एक आइटम के लिए अलग अलग है, तो यूरिया डीएपी जो भी खाद है एक ही है, लेकिन तरह तरह के हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं। मछली का भी सेम ही है, जो राइस ब्रेन है, सोयाबीन है, भुट्टा है, जो भी है उसको अलग अलग मिक्सिंग अलग अलग होना चाहिए, कंपोजिशन अलग होना चाहिए। अलग अलग स्पीसीज़ के लिए अलग अलग फीड होना चाहिए, क्योंकि मछली पालन में सबसे खर्चा क्या है? फीड का। 60 to 65% हमारा खर्चा आता है फीड का। 5 to 10% खर्चा आता है आपका अदर्स इनपुट का, लाइम हो चाहे कुछ केमिकल्स वगैरह हो, प्रोबायोटिक्स हो, इसका। बाकी मेन खर्चा जो है फीड का, बेसिक फीड का। और बाकी जो खर्चा है 10% खर्चा आता है लेबर का, 5 to 10% खर्चा आता है लैंड लीज का, उसमें जनरेटर वगैरह पावर वगैरह सभी इसमें आ जाता है। तो ये लेके हम लोग को फीड अगर ठीक ना हो, फीड सीड ठीक ना हो, तो हमको मछली फार्मिंग में दिक्कत आ जाएगा। और डाइवर्सिफिकेशन ऑफ स्पीसीज में हम ये बोलना ज़रूरी है, आप जिस इलाका में खेती करेंगे उस इलाका में कौन सी मछली का डिमांड है। जैसा छोटे मोटे जो छोटा जो स्पीसीज है, जैसे पुटिया सराना, गुलियो मतलब टेंगड़ा, मिल्क फिश, चैनोस चैनोस, ये पपदा, सिंगी, मागुर, ये जो है एक एक एरिया में एक एक मछली चलता है। हर एक मछली हर एक मार्केट में नहीं चलता है। इसके लिए भी जो इलाका में जो मछली चलता है उस हिसाब से उसको खेती करना चाहिए। हर एक जगह में हर एक मछली नहीं चलता है। पंगास जैसा हम लोग वेस्ट बंगाल में चलता नहीं है बिल्कुल भी, लेकिन पंगास का सबसे ज़्यादा सीड वेस्ट बंगाल में बनता है। लेकिन पंगास वेस्ट बंगाल में क्या चलता है? पंगास का फिले चलता है। यहाँ पर जो लोग खेती करता है पंगास के फिले के लिए कोई खेती नहीं करता है। पंगास के फिले बनाने लगे 1.5 किलो के ऊपर मछली होना चाहिए, उसमें फैट बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए, मिनिमम फैट होना चाहिए। ये सब चीज़ को ध्यान रखना चाहिए, तभी जाके खेती करना है। खेती करने के लिए एक चीज़ और ध्यान रखना है, जब पॉन्ड हम कौन सी मछली को खेती करेंगे, किसी टाइम हम शुरू करेंगे, जब तक जिस टाइम हम शुरू करने जा रहा है उस टाइम हमारा सीड मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा। पहले हमको सीड का जुगाड़ करके तब हमको खेती शुरू करना। जो स्पीसीज हम जो प्रजाति का हम खेती करेंगे उसको पहले सीड को हमको प्रबंध करके तब उसको खेती करना चाहिए। सीड के साथ फीड का भी, फीड पहले कर लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि फीड आपको पास कोई फैक्ट्री से बन के आएगा, उसको टाइम लगेगा। सीड का भी जैसा टाइम लगेगा फीड का भी ऐसा ही टाइम लगता है, दोनों को एक साथ में होना चाहिए। सिर्फ फीड में भी ये भी है, जो छोटा मछली के लिए एक तरफ का फीड लगता है, मछली जैसा जैसा बड़ा होता है उसका फीड का ग्रेडेशन भी चेंज होता है। जो छोटा मछली के जो फीड आप दिया है एक ही स्पीसीज का, मान लीजिए आप पपदा कर रहे हैं, पपदा का छोटा मछली के जो फीड दे रहा है, जब वो मीडियम साइज में आएगा फीड का आपको चेंज हो जाएगा, जो बड़ा होगा उसको फीड अभी चेंज हो जाएगा। इस तरफ से आपको फीड का भी चेंज करना ज़रूरी है। एक फीड में पूरा कल्चर आपको होगा नहीं। मछली का मुंह का साइज जैसा होगा, माउथ का साइज, हम लोग माउथ साइज बोलते हैं, माउथ का साइज के हिसाब से फीड का दाना होना चाहिए, चाहे वो सिंकिंग फीड हो चाहे फ्लोटिंग फीड हो, दोनों फीड का ही आपको उस हिसाब से होना चाहिए। और जैसे छोटा मछली है, छोटा मछली जब छोटा है उस टाइम उसको फीड का कंपोजिशन अलग होगा, जब मछली बड़ा हो जाएगा उसको फीड का कंपोजिशन अलग होगा, जब हार्वेस्टिंग साइज होगा उस टाइम फीड का कंपोजिशन अलग होगा। हार्वेस्टिंग के टाइम पे आपको क्या चाहिए, पिगमेंटेशन चाहिए। पिगमेंटेशन मीन्स कलर होना चाहिए, वो भी फीड के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है, मछली का कलर। मछली जब बाज़ार में जाता है कलर देखते हैं लोग, और मछली का स्ट्रक्चर, कोई कोई मछली हम देखते हैं बाज़ार में, हम डेली बाज़ार जाते हैं, देखते हैं मछली देखने में तो बहुत बड़ा है लेकिन वो हल्का है, उसका मतलब मीट जितना होना चाहिए उतना मीट नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है? वो प्रॉपरली फीड नहीं हुआ। तो ये सब फीड में होना ज़रूरी है। और मछली में फीड ठीक नहीं होगा तो मछली को स्टेबिलिटी, मतलब मार्केट में जाके 1 घंटा में सड़ जाएगा। ये भी फीड के ऊपर थोड़ा डिपेंड करता है, जो फीड का ठीक ठीक टाइम पे देना बहुत ज़रूरी है। जो मछली का हार्वेस्टिंग के पहले हम लोग फीड को कलर के लिए और बॉडी वेट बढ़ाने के लिए देना चाहिए। जैसे फीड का, मछली का जो पेट है वो टाइट होना चाहिए, जिससे हमारा फीड में मछली का जितना खाना खाता है वो हजम हो जाए। मतलब अगर पेट में अंदर खाना रह जाएगा तो मछली जब आप मार्केट में ले जाएंगे वो मछली खाना निकल जाएगा, तो मछली आपको वेट लॉस करेगा, आपको अच्छा कीमत नहीं मिलेगा। ये सब देना, जितना हम फीड दे रहे हैं उतना ठीक ठीक हजम हो, खाना खा रहा है कि देखना चाहिए। और जो आजकल बहुत लोग फ्लोटिंग फीड और सिंकिंग फीड देते हैं, वो फीड देने को अब जितना भी फीड आपको पॉन्ड का हिसाब है, पॉन्ड का एरिया है, उस हिसाब से आपको, अगर सिंकिंग फीड हो चाहे फ्लोटिंग फीड हो, उस हिसाब से देना चाहिए। मैं आपको एग्जांपल बोल रहा हूँ, अगर मान लीजिए 1 हेक्टर का पॉन्ड है, आप फ्लोटिंग फीड दे रहे हैं, तो मैं देखा है कई जगह में एक एक हेक्टर का पॉन्ड है, वहाँ पे 30 स्क्वायर मीटर के, 50 स्क्वायर मीटर के, मैक्सिमम 100 स्क्वायर मीटर के एक तो जगह बना दिया नेट दे के, वहीं पर दाना डालते हैं। लेकिन वहाँ पे क्या होता है, सारे पॉन्ड का मछली तो वहीं जगह में आ जाता है खाना खाने के लिए, लेकिन खाना खा नहीं पाता है। उसको हिसाब है कम से कम पॉन्ड का हिसाब से 25%, मिनिमम 20 to 25% एरिया होना चाहिए खाना देने के लिए, फ्लोटिंग फीड के लिए। सिंकिंग फीड के लिए भी सेम जगह, जहाँ पे जगह आप खाना दे रहे हैं, कम से कम 100 पर स्क्वायर मीटर में, पर 100 स्क्वायर मीटर में 4 जगह होना चाहिए जहाँ पे मछली जाके आराम से खाना खाए आ रहा है। बैग फीडिंग कुछ लोग करते हैं, बैग फीडिंग में मैं जो समझता हूँ उसमें क्या होता है, मछली का माउथ में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है। हम देखा है कई कई एरिया में जो मछली का जो मुंह है, मुंह में जब वो बैग में टकरता है, ज़्यादा दिन टकरने के बाद उसको वो घाव हो जाता है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है, सफ़ेद हो जाता है, उसको भी थोड़ा ध्यान रखना चाहिए। बैग फीडिंग मैं प्रेफर नहीं करता हूँ। सिंकिंग फीड है तो आप जगह एक जगह में डाल दीजिए। जैसा पर अगर 1 हेक्टर का आपका पॉन्ड है, 10,000 स्क्वायर मीटर का पॉन्ड है, कम से कम 20 या 30 जगह में आपको फीड देना जरूरी है। तो इस हिसाब से फीड, जितना आप फीड को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करके देंगे तो मछली उतना ज़्यादा खा पाएंगे, आराम से आएगा, मछली खाएगा, खाने के बाद वो निकल जाएगा। यही आपको देखना ज़रूरी है। सबसे ज़रूरी है मछली को जो खाना आप दे रहे हैं, खाना तो कम से कम दिन में 2, मछली जब छोटा रहेगा मिनिमम 3 से 5 बार देना चाहिए। जितना टाइम आप खाना का देने को टाइम बढ़ाएंगे, मछली उतना आपको फीड एफिशिएंसी बढ़ेगा, उतना एफसीआर आपको अच्छा होगा। बड़ा मछली को मिनिमम 2 से 3 टाइम खाना दीजिए, छोटे मछली को 3 से 5 बार खाना दीजिए। डे टाइम में खाना दीजिए, अर्ली मॉर्निंग में एकदम मत खाना दीजिए, थोड़ा जिससे सन रेज हो जाएगा उस टाइम खाना देना शुरू करिए, इवनिंग तक खाना देना दीजिए। सर्दी के टाइम में खाना का देने का टाइम अलग होना चाहिए, सर्दी के टाइम में खाना कम दीजिए। ये सब खाना जितना खाना के अगर प्रॉपर खाना नहीं खाएगा तो पैसा आपको वेस्टेज होगा। आप तो बोल रहे हैं हम इतना खाना दिया लेकिन हमारा मछली ग्रोथ नहीं, लेकिन मछली खाया कितना वो भी देखना है ना। ये सब लेके देख के चलना चाहिए। और जो सबसे यदि बड़ी बात है, सबसे जो मैं समझता हूँ फीड के, आप जिस स्पीसीज को आप कल्चर कर रहे हैं, जो प्रजाति आप मछली पाल रहे हैं, उसको हिसाब से मछली के हिसाब से खाना देना चाहिए। आप रोहू पाल रहे हैं और पाबदा को फीड दे रहे हैं, कि पाबदा पाल रहे हैं रोहू को फीड दे रहे हैं, ये बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए। हर एक पीसीस को खाने का जो कंपोजिशन है वो अलग अलग है, सभी एक ही चीज़ खाता नहीं है। चीज़ तो एक ही है लेकिन कंपोजिशन अलग होता है। और छोटा मछली के लिए जो खाना होता है वो बड़ा मछली को नहीं चाहिए, बड़ा मछली के जो होता है वो मझले मछली को नहीं हो। हर एक साइज के ऊपर मछली को खाने को डिपेंड भी करता है। ये सब मछली को ध्यान रखना चाहिए। और जो बाकी जो आजकल नया स्पीसीस आ रहा है उसको भी जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि अभी हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं, जैसे आपको पाबदा बोलिए, पंगास बोलिए, पुटिया सराना बोलिए, गुलियो बोलिए, हम लोग नेचर से जो कलेक्ट करते हैं, नहीं तो किसी के तालाब से आता है उसी का हम इंजेक्शन करते हैं, उसी से सीड बनाते हैं, लेकिन ये बिल्कुल गलत है। हमको जेनेटिकली सिलेक्टिव ब्रीडिंग करना चाहिए, तभी जाके हमको अच्छा पैदावार मिलेगा। मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। टमाटर तो हर एक खेती में लगाता है, भिंडी तो हर एक को लगाता है, लेकिन भिंडी को कितना प्रजाति बाजार में आजकल मिलता है। अब दाल का देखिए, एक ही दाल का, मसूर का देखिए, गेहूँ कोई भी दाल का देखिए, गेहूँ का देखिए, कितना प्रजाति निकल गया। सब जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट हो रहा है। सेम मछली का भी ऐसा जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट होना चाहिए, जैसे जयंती रोहू अमूर कार्प का हुआ है, एक ही हुआ जयंती रोहू। रोहू का भी और भी स्पीसीज होना चाहिए जो अच्छा ग्रोथ हो। ये अगर नहीं होगा तो मछली पालने को प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगा। और एक तो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात मैं जो समझता हूँ, आखिर में बोल रहा हूँ, जो हम लोग जो मछली पालते हैं उसको जो मार्केटिंग करते हैं, हमारा मार्केट सब डिपेंड है, सब चिंगड़ी छोड़ के, झींगा छोड़ के, प्रॉन छोड़ के, सभी हम डोमेस्टिक लाइफ सेल करने के लिए ही हम लोग चिंता करते हैं। लेकिन प्रोसेसिंग के लिए हमारे पास कोई स्पीसीज नहीं है। हमारे पास प्रोसेसिंग वाला स्पीसीज होना चाहिए, जो एक फैक्ट्री को लगाएगा प्रोसेसिंग के लिए, जहाँ पे डेली का हिसाब से, उसके हिसाब से डेली मछली मिलना चाहिए। इस हिसाब से भी हम लोग प्रोसेस कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि मछली अभी प्रोसेस मछली का बहुत डिमांड अभी आगे बढ़ रहा है, अगला में और भी बढ़ेगा। ये सब हमको ध्यान देना चाहिए। जैसा है ग्रास कार्प, अच्छा वाला ग्रोथ है, ये अच्छा वाला प्रोसेसिंग वाला फिश बन सकता है। तिलापिया अच्छा प्रोसेसिंग के लिए इंडस्ट्रियल मछली बन सकता है, इंडस्ट्री में उसको डिमांड हो सकता है। हम लोग प्रॉपरली इंडस्ट्री में तिलापिया फीड करेगा तो डेली 2 टन के हिसाब से एक तो छोटा व मीडियम साइज का प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट बन सकता है। पंगास अच्छा मछली है, लेकिन हम लोग जो मछली पालते हैं, कोई मतलब प्रोसेसिंग के लिए हम लोग नहीं सोचता है जो ये मछली प्रोसेसिंग में लिए जाएगा, झींगा छोड़ के, प्रॉन छोड़ के। ये भी हम लोग को मछली पालने के लिए, तो मछली हम लोग जो पालते हैं इसको भी ये लोग लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि मछली बाजार में जो मछली आता है, एक दिन ज़्यादा मछली आ गया तो मार्केट डाउन हो जाता है, कोई दिन मछली कम आया तो बाजार बढ़ जाता है। हम लोग के पास कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है बाजार के ऊपर, और बाजार वाला का भी कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है, उसको भी कुछ मालूम नहीं आज कहाँ से कितना मछली आएगा। जो आ गया तो आ गया, सेल हुआ तो भी वो उसको है, सेल नहीं हुआ तो किसान का नुकसान है। ये सब भी हमको देखना चाहिए। जैसे ऐसा स्पीसीज होना चाहिए जो बाजार में सेल नहीं हुआ तो किसी प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट में हम भेज सकते हैं, उसको प्रोसेसिंग हो जाएगा। क्या जगह जगह में कोल्ड स्टोर होना जरूरी है, जहाँ पे हम लोग मछली रख के अगला दिन के 2 दिन के भी ले रख सकते हैं। तो मछली के लेके ये सब करना जरूरी है। स्पीसीज डाइवर्सिफिकेशन के साथ प्रोसेसिंग मार्केटिंग भी ज़्यादा जरूरी है। स्पीसीज डाइवर्सिफिकेशन, हमारे पास जो भी नया नया और स्पीसीज आ रहा है उसको भी ध्यान से देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि हम लोग को पहले बहुत मछली था, जैसा कैट फिश है, 2-3 कैट फिश हम लोग इधर में अच्छा, बंगाल में अच्छा सेल होता है। ये सब को मार्केट स्टडी भी करना है। जैसे हम लोग ब्रैकिश में अगर जाए, ब्रैकिश में अभी 3-4 नया स्पीसीज आ गया, कोबिया, सिल्वर पैम्पेनो, इंडियन पैम्पेनो, गुरुपर भी आ रहा है। ये सब को भी जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट सीड मिलना जरूरी है। सीड कब मिलेगा, फार्म कब, ये सब कुछ जानकारी फार्मर को पहले लेना चाहिए, नहीं तो प्रॉपर फार्मिंग नहीं हो पाएगा। जैसे हमारा झींगा में एक स्पीसीज है इंडिकस, वाइट प्रॉन, इसको भी हमको खेती बनाना चाहिए, इसको भी सीड को डेवलपमेंट करना चाहिए, क्योंकि अभी हमारे पास 2 स्पीसीज, एक ही स्पीसीज मान लीजिए जेनेटिकली इम्प्रूवमेंट झींगा है जो वेनामी, अभी जीआई, अभी जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट ये हो रहा है, मोनोडॉन का हो रहा है, बगदा का हो रहा है, लेकिन और भी जो स्पीसीज है उसको भी होना चाहिए। जैसे हमारा बंगाल में एक स्पीसीज है हरीना बोल के, उसको भी जेनेटिकल इम्प्रूवमेंट होना चाहिए, जैसे सीड भी मिले, उसके लिए फीड भी मिले, ये सब होना चाहिए। होने से हम लोग मछली खेती के जो मनोभाव है वो और बढ़ेगा। हमको लिए जो अभी नया जो हमारा सरकार का जो स्कीम है, प्रधानमंत्री मत्स्य संपदा योजना और इन फिशरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट फंड, इसको हम पूरा लाभ उठाना चाहिए, इसको हम इसमें लेना चाहिए, जो हम मछली पाल ठीक करे। यही हमारा तक था। सबका नमस्कार, यही हम समाप्त करता हूँ।
Thank you, Mr. Amlesh Chatterjee. With your vast experience as a fish farmer, you have brought out many of the issues, particularly with regard to the need for good seed and good feed and the market linkages for species diversification. As you rightly pointed out, that quality of seed is very important for the aquaculture development. Like fish seed bank and genetically improved fish strains. This is very important for the development of any aquaculture program. And apart from this Jayanti Rohu, Amur common carp, the gifted tilapia, genetically improved farm tilapia, is also introduced into the Indian aquaculture scenario. And the Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture is recently popularizing this genetically improved scampi also for the market. So these are the new species that are coming into the market. But most importantly, we need to have continuous genetic and breeding program happening for most of the species. So we are doing this carp culture for the last 50 to 60 years. We don't have any genetic program across the country to supply quality brood stock. And we are always complaining about the poor quality of the seeds, even for the major 3 species that we are farming in India, which is occupying around 80% of our fish production. So we don't have a genetic program, and NFDB has come out with a national freshwater brood bank to supply quality brood stock for the needs of the farmers. Similarly, for the new species or the diversification of a new species, it should not only focus on developing the hatchery technology and supplying the seeds to the farmers. A robust genetic and breeding program, unless otherwise it is built into the system, it is very difficult to maintain the quality of the seeds in the long run. Science has developed a lot, and we need to focus on the new species program also, diversified new species also, a sound breeding program and genetic tools for use for the sustainable quality of the seeds that are supplied into the market. You have also pointed out the need for the good feed, particularly the need for species-wise feed and the different sizes of the feed, particularly when you see this, the cost of feed alone accounts for about 60 to 70%. But these are all at the very initial stages. For example, an established production technology for Vanami, whatever you have suggested is available. But with freshwater aquaculture, we have few feeds mostly on the size of the feed as well as on the protein percentage. Slowly, the new species-wise feeds are getting introduced, and it's a big need. It all depends on the market share that each of these species and the need for the feed. Most of the feed companies will be able to come out with the specific feeds particularly for the different species as well as for the different stages of growth. We have a long way to go depending on the market and the production expansion that is going to happen. I rightly pointed out the live fish marketing need, processing and export marketing, and the need for cold storages for taking care of the surplus and shortage situation. These are all some of the important points you have focused. Thank you so much for participating and giving your views during this session. Now let us move on to the next session. We have Dr. Mohammed Mutiur Rahman, professor from Bangladesh Agriculture University, and he will be speaking on species diversification aquaculture with respect to the Bangladesh model, where we have, as a neighboring country, we have many diversified species that are available for aquaculture in Bangladesh. Let us hear from Dr. Rahman. Over to you, Dr. Rahman.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. Actually, first of all, I want to give thanks to the organizers of this Aqua Show Organized Committee for inviting me in this occasion. So actually, I think the time is very limited. So I will briefly explain about the species diversity of Bangladesh. So you know, Bangladesh is a land of rivers and is blessed with a rich biodiversity of fish and fisheries resources. And it is one of the world's leading fish producing countries with a total production of 43.84 lakh metric ton in fiscal year 2018-19, which is 62.31% higher than 2008 and 2009. So, and average growth performance of this sector is 5.26% for last 10 years. So we can see that the fish production increased 6 times within the last 36 years. And the achievement was from inland culture fishery, as for the time being, contribution of both capture and marine fisheries decreased. So we have a large fish biodiversity, about 260 freshwater fish species, and 475 marine fish species, and about 15 to 20 exotic fish species, 24 freshwater prawn species, and 36 marine shrimp species. And beside this, we have some lobster, squid, cuttle, crabs, sharks, dolphin, shrimps, and recently we are focusing on some seaweeds. So actually, historically, people depended mainly on natural water for supply of fish feeds. But in recent years, the fish feed has become gradually been endangered, as the natural habitats are being and breeding grounds of this fish has been severely degraded due to the overexploitation, ecological changes, reduction of water bodies, application of pesticides in rice cultivation, release of chemical effluents from industrial plants, and hydrological changes due to the construction of flood control infrastructure. But as a result of declining catches of wild fish due to the increased fishing effort by the growing population as well as environmental degradation, people began to culture fish in enclosure waters. Actually, in Bangladesh, the diversity of species is very high, we think, because we are a very small country. And at present, the farmers are culturing about 25 to 30 freshwater fish species, and endemic species. These are all endemic, and we are culturing about 15 to 20 exotic fish species. And beside this, there are stream culture and some coastal culture. The diversity of the species is in culture species. It depends mainly on the supply of seeds. So we can see that in our country that the Fisheries Research Institute already developed and introduced 20 induced breeding protocol and culture techniques of 23 inland fish water species. And at the same time, there are some hatcheries. They are reported hatcheries. They are working about the introduction of new species, and they are working. Many times they are working about the development of breeding technology of some species. So, and another important thing, the demand of the fish, and the demand of the fish species is very important for the diversity of a species in a country or in an area. For example, Mymensingh, where I am sitting right now, the Bangladesh Agriculture University, and the Fisheries Research Institute are in the same place. We are in the same campus, and in previous 10 to 15 years back, this region, the hatchery operators or the hatchery owners of this region mainly produce the calves, fry and fingerlings of calves. But for last 10 or 15 years, they shifted their species, and they are producing the catfishes and some perches like koi, and the catfishes like papda, gulsha, sheen, magur. They are focusing. Most of the hatcheries shifted their species to move, and the other places like the important places for the hatcheries like in Joshore and the Kumilla and Bogura, they are also they are shifting the species. So because the demand of the catfishes, indigenous catfishes and perches are increasing. And another important thing for the diversity of species is the introduction of new species from other countries. So so far, officially or unofficially, so more than 15 to 20 fish species have already been introduced in our country, like Chinese carps, Thai pangas, perches like Vietnamese koi, Vietnamese shoal, and other species. So this is the important thing, and the demand of the species like catfishes and perches is increasing day by day, because in Indian mesocarps, and another important thing is the shifting of culture techniques, like in northern region of Bangladesh, they changed their culture techniques, and they are basically now most of the fish farmers are doing the carp fattening, and they are producing big size carps with the miguel, mainly the Indian mesocarps. And another thing is we are doing about the genetically improved, working about the improvement of the species of many genetical studies. So tomorrow I will talk about the hatchery management of this species. So I think for the diversification of species, the demand of the fish species is very important. And you know, in Bangladesh, more than 11% of the people are engaged in different activities of the fishery sector, and 60% protein comes from the fish and fishery products. So this is very important. So how many people are taking fish as an animal protein? So demand of fish is important. And another is the exporting demand is also increasing for the small indigenous species like sheen, magur, gulsha, papda. So this is a problem. And another thing is these small species we can culture with the other Indian mesocarps and other exotic carps as a composite culture or polyculture. This is also important. So, and day by day, the production of the small indigenous species is increasing, and the hatchery, the establishment of the hatchery is also increasing. So this is important. So for the diversification, we must supply good quality seeds to the farmers, and at the same time, we have to provide the good quality feeds. And third one is the management. This is the three important part for the culture and diversification of the species, like the seed, feed, and management. This is the three important parts. And we are working in our university. We are working about the development of saline tolerance tilapia. So we have gift tilapia, but at the same time, we are working about the saline tolerance tilapia, and many genetical works are already going on about the study of the genetic analysis for the small species also, like Papda, Gulsha, Sheem. So actually the farmers are collecting the brood fish from the natural sources like cows, beals, and lowlands, and they are doing the they are doing the breeding. So, and sometimes this is for the breeding of small indigenous species. It is not so difficult. So many fish are not required. So our natural water body, the brood fish from our natural water bodies, it can fulfill the demand of the fish. And another thing is some hatcheries are already doing the artificial propagation of the very small self-recruiting species like Mola, Dhela. So they are working on these species, and the successful hatcheries, what they are doing, they keep many endangered or critically endangered species in their hatcheries, and every year and every 2 or 3 years they are trying to develop new technologies, and they are trying to introduce a new species, fry and fingerlings of new species to the culturists. So this is very important. So if we can introduce new species to the farmers, and they are very keen to take the new technology, they are very happy to culture of the species, and the demand of the species is also important. And we know in Bangladesh, the demand of small indigenous species is very important, and at the same time, the production of the small indigenous species in the natural water bodies is decreasing. That is why many of the hatcheries has already been established, and there are many, and there is a competition among the hatcheries. So which hatcheries can introduce or produce a new strain, or can introduce the induced breeding technique and domestication, or the culture technique of new species. And sometimes the competition is going on between the private hatcheries and research institute, universities, and there is a competition. So who can take new technologies to the farmers? So this is important. So, and at the same time, for diversification of species, the culture technique is also important, like the case culture is going well in Bangladesh. The pen culture is also some recirculatory aquaculture system. This is also important. And we are now, some farmers are focusing on the biofloc, and some farmers are now doing to produce the spirulina culture. Some crustaceans for the catfish feed, like the Moina, Cyclops, And for the larviculture, so some farmers are focusing on the production of euphysid worms and euglena. So we are working about this type of new research field, and we want to give the new technologies to the farmers, and they are very much interested to adopt this technology. So actually, what I said, it is a group work. So like the fisheries hatcheries should introduce new species to the field, and the farmers are very much interested to take the technology. And at the same time, many feed industries are developed. They are preparing many specially quality feeds, especially the species specific feed is very important for the diversification of species. And the culture technology like extensive culture, semi-intensive culture is going on. And another important thing is beside the endemic species, the introduction of exotic species, which are very friendly to the native species, is also important for the species diversification and to increase the fish production of a country. So that is all from my side. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Matiur Rahman, for your nice presentation. So you have nicely presented about the species diversity in Bangladesh in terms of the freshwater freshwater, marine and brackish waters. And your presentation clearly indicates the many species available for aquaculture in Bangladesh compared to India. Particularly, you highlighted the need for the demand for different species, which is already available in the case of Bangladesh. And we need to have a complete mapping of the demand for different diversified species for the different regions of India also. Then and there we see a lot of market demand for mostly the indigenous species that are available in the different areas. But we need to understand before going in for large scale development of this diversification process. So your experience of many of the farmers shifting from carp hatcheries to other diversified species in Mymensingh and Jashore is quite interesting. And here also we see that there is an interest for the farmers, but only thing we need to support the farmers in terms of the hatchery technologies and the market development needs. That is a major challenge that we are having. But one important caution in that direction is that, and most of the cases, as you pointed out, that the private players are playing a major role in the hatchery technology of many of the species. So that is a point of concern from the initial stages, because depending on the demand for the species, the market needs, the farmers needs, the hatcheries develop, and they plan for a specific breeding technology as per the knowledge available with them. Even sometimes it happens that R&D has to follow what the farmers are doing in the field. So we may have to be, as an R&D institution, we should also be equipped with the technologies or parallelly work with the farmers. Otherwise, when when a big problem arises for the seed industry, the R&D may not be able to support it. We have a typical example of this monodon scenario that has happened in the country. But with the diversified species, it is better that the R&D goes hand in hand with the private industry. Otherwise, leaving it only to the private hatcheries is a major concern that I pursue. And you have also highlighted the importance of promoting small indigenous species that are being accepted in Bangladesh along with the major crops. This is one direction that is very much essential for India also. Because though we have got this Indian major crop production happening, from the beginning during the 40-30 years, all the small indigenous fishes have been actually killed in the name of weed fishes. But now there is a need for rejuvenating the indigenous species, and we are also seeing the reluctance of the farmers to accept over the years to, though the market demands. for farming along with calves, there is a lot of concern from the farmers. So even in Assam and Odisha, wherever Worldfish is working, we have just had some demonstration with your Bangladesh Worldfish experts who come here. So we are able to prove to the farmers that the introduction of other small fishes do not hamper the growth of the production of Indian major carps. When the farmers realize it, there is more and more species that can also be formed along with the Indian major carps. There will be a slow shift towards the introduction of many diversified species that are regionally important. Thank you so much for giving an overview of the Bangladesh model of indigenous species. I think we are exceeding our time limit for this session. Mr. Mukherjee, can we take a few questions, or what would you like to?
I would definitely welcome a few sessions, please. Few questions, please.
Okay, so let us take another 10 minutes for a few questions from the audience. If you have anything to our speakers, you are always welcome.
The audience can chat, type in the chat box, in the Q&A box.
From the organizers, can I have a few questions to the speakers? Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Das, or Gerald? Dr.
Yeah, Dr. Jairul, Dr. Das, would you kindly ask some questions to the speakers? Do you have some questions for the speakers?
So if there are no questions, Mr. Mukherjee, let us conclude this session.
Right, sir.
Yeah. So
Right, sir.
overall, the session has brought out during these 3 lectures the need for species diversification for aquaculture development in India, precisely pointed out by Mr. Umakant, and from the farmer side, Mr. Ramlesh Chatterjee and Dr. Rahman from the R&D side. They have really enlightened this session with their observations and their strong points with regard to the need for species diversity. And most important is, let us not, there are 2 things that for species diversification. One is the high value species and the species which are demanded by the regions, or the domestic needs of the different regions have to be met out. And with regard to export and the expanding markets, we need to diversify into small, many high value species also, for which hatchery and production technology need to be standardized for the country as of now. And as all the speakers have pointed out, there is quite a great need for genetically improved seed production for most of the diversified species, because most of these indigenous species or other species that are coming into, their genetic performance need to be evaluated, and some genetic improvement programs have to be built into the system. And most importantly, the dissemination process of the genetically improved strains need to be strengthened within the country, because it is not that one time we introduce a genetically improved strain and allow the farmers to continue it. There should be a backup system which takes care of the entire dissemination process. And there is need for identifying many hatchery technology for this diversified species. Initially, as Dr. Rahman was telling that they were able to get so many species from Thailand, Vietnam, and China and domesticate it to Bangladesh environment. But definitely that we need to identify a few species that has got relevance for the Indian aquaculture development. And also we need to develop the hatchery technology and the farming technology for those species. And then the market development has to be rightly aligned with the development programs, species diversification program, because where the market is available for the different species may not be available in the production centers. In some places, there might be a need for, there might be scope for production, but some places may have a lot of scope for consumption. So as an organization, as an industry, we need to identify the scope for production areas, and we need to identify the logistic support and the market information and the market demand across the country, so that the product can be pushed for the relevant markets. And there is also a lot of need for sustaining this diversified species by bringing in the nutrition awareness among the consumers. Because fish, when we get diversified species, how it is important, whether it is culturally important for them, whether it is nutritionally important for them, or we are getting revived with the local species, that is to be conveyed to the consumers to sustain the diversified species. And we need to address the demands for the domestic market and export market, as somebody was pointed out. These are all some of the good points that have emerged during this nice discussion during the forenoon of this AquaShow 2021 virtual conclave. So at this point of time, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to the speakers, Dr. Umakant, Mr. Amlesh Chatterjee, and Dr. Rahman for their valuable inputs. And would like to thank all the participants and the organizers, Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Amit, and Dr. Jahrul, for your support in organizing this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. Thank you for that lovely moderation of the wonderful session. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, attendees. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for tomorrow's session starting 2 p.m. If you haven't registered, kindly register on theaquashow.com. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.